When I groom my horse, I get dried mud in my hair and in my eyes and all over my face and clothes. Grooming is hard work, but when you've finished, your horse is nice and shiny and healthier for having all sorts of muck brushed off his skin. You might even find lumps and bumps that you should know about, and altogether it's a process beneficial to the recipient, whether he appreciates it or not. If I didn't groom my horse or didn't get someone else to do it for me, the owner of the stables would probably have some harsh words to say to me about the state of my mount. And indeed, my mount might complain as well when the saddle was rubbing against hard mud on his back. So I'd get some sort of punishment, whether the stable owner brought the subject up or not. Now, this sort of grooming is directly the opposite of the way the word grooming has been twisted and poisoned by a series of government offices, and I'm not just blaming the Labour Party, and an entire population of media outlets trying to pretend that youngsters all over the country were and are being groomed instead of saying that they were being violated, abused and turned into slaves. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. As George Orwell pointed out in his essay Politics and the English Language, if you haven't read it, you should. He said, when a society starts manipulating words and pretending that up is down, peace is war, slavery is freedom, or whatever, when a society starts doing that, it's heading straight over the edge of a precipice. Well, so much as I remember, I don't think he mentioned the word precipice, but he did point out that politicians, and as a matter of fact, university professors, he made a particular point of that, when they start talking around a subject, that's a surefire way of knowing that there's something unpleasant and damaging that they would prefer to ignore. Grooming isn't the word. Slavery is the word. In previous centuries, our governments made slaves of our working classes. And then came the Labour Party. Now things were going to be different. With political power, the Labour Party could protect the workers from slavery. That was before the Labour Party got into power. And, to quote from another Orwell construction, when the Labour Party did get into power, like now, with such a huge majority that nobody can assail them in any way, well, the creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was which. Although I do have to make the point that Orwell was a little off in his prediction. He refers to the creatures outside looking in, when, as a matter of record, the creatures are inside. They're inside Wandsworth, Pentonville, Wormwood Scrubs, Belmarsh and, famously, Wood Hill, where Tommy Robinson is inside. And the Labour Party is keeping it that way. Our safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips. Oh, let's have a look at the the news here. Labour has blocked an inquiry into Sir Keir Starmer's conduct as head of the Crown Prosecution Service while investigating the Oldham child grooming scandal. Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister. Oh, well, that's another one of those circumlocutions, isn't it? Refused to launch a public inquiry into historical sexual abuse by gangs in Oldham, saying it was for the council to decide whether one was necessary. That is, of course, bunkum. The council doesn't decide whether a crime has been committed, does it? Ever. Anyway, Jess Phillips, in so speaking, has taken the responsibility for blocking the inquiry into exactly how responsible Keir Starmer was for not investigating the Oldham child slavery scandal while he was Director of Public Prosecutions, a post he held from 2008 to 2013. Now, I am quite prepared to believe that someone who is so incompetent and cack-handed as a Prime Minister was also just as incompetent and cack-handed as a Director of Public Prosecutions. So I can imagine his office was full of stuff not being dealt with and staff that did pretty much whatever they wanted. Which was likely playing Snake on their mobile phones. Elon Musk had something to say about this. The US tech billionaire led criticism of the decision to block an inquiry. Mr. Musk has emerged as a vocal critic of Sir Keir and his government in recent months. Writing on his social media platform, X, Mr. Musk claimed Miss Phillips deserves to be in prison over the disgraceful decision, which he suggested had been taken to protect the Prime Minister. You've no need to suggest, Mr. Musk. It's quite obvious. Anyway, he professes to be angry about this and has blasted out several messages. Oh, I can't bear that face. Let's just roll down a bit. On the subject over his X platform, as I said. And he said that Miss Phillips deserves to be in prison. She doesn't. I'm fairly sure that she's only following orders, and those orders will be along the same lines as the ones that Starmer would have been issuing between 2008 and 2013. If you don't talk about it, it'll go away. Well, just like the pensioners and the farms and the school children. And of course, with the collusion of the media who don't want to lose their route into number 10. It's all like a sort of a package, isn't it? And while I'm talking about the media being under the influence, so to speak, let's just have a look at this.
I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works. There would be plenty of people who didn't want to sit in.
Just look at the face of that interviewer there. Just look at her physical attitude. Look at those dreamy eyes. She's mesmerised by him.
The first place. So look, what I focus on is the decisions that I have to make every day.
Oh, hang on a minute. The blink. Just a minute. Yeah, just look at her fluttering her eyelashes at him.
But surely,
it's a bit like opposition.
You want us, the public, to
now look how she's looking at her co-presenter. I mean, if she had the word this isn't BBC, but if she had the word BBC stamped on her forehead, this would be exactly the attitude of the BBC. Hang on, look at that. Look at that. Oh, yes. That would be exactly the attitude of the BBC to the Labour government, wouldn't it? Well, I thought you might enjoy that little window into the mind of the media. Nigel Farage excoriates both Labour and the Conservatives for their mummified behaviour over the issue, and he's quite correct to do so. Meanwhile, I want to remind you that some of the so-called men, here, let's have a look at here we are, so-called men who were imprisoned for their crimes, they are now back in their hometowns, hanging around the same places as their former slaves. Oh, I mean grooming victims. Yeah, we've got to keep the language polite, haven't we? And I believe in one case, one of the women, now women, discovered that one of those things was the delivery driver for a package she'd ordered or takeaway or something. Can you imagine that? It'd put you right off your chicken biryani, wouldn't it? Anyway, we can be as cross about that as we want to, and Mr. Musk can be as cross about that as he wants. This Labour government has an overwhelming majority, as well as an obviously heavy influence on the media, and it appears to have much of the judiciary by the briefs, and they're not going anywhere. You know, I once heard that the lighter love of Bridget Jones, she of the Diary fame, her obsession was the young up-and-coming lawyer Mark Darcy, wasn't he? And I did hear once that Darcy was actually modelled on Keir Starmer. I don't know whether that's true or not, but when I heard that, it put me right off the novels, I'll tell you. OK, well, that's it. Labour has squashed the grooming scandal Enquiry, and this handsome young chap here was not to blame, and possibly not even in charge of his own job. OK, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.